Channel 8, Des Moines, Iowa's news leader, and home of live Super Doppler. This is KCCI News Channel 8's First News at 5.
A police chase ends today in a nasty crash. Hear why police need your help in identifying the two suspects.
An emotional and historic day for Iraqis living in America. I'm Sally Kidd in Prince George's County, Maryland. They are registering to vote in the upcoming Iraqi elections. The story just ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Two young men were critically injured in a high-speed crash today.
It happened around 9:30 this morning on East 25th Street in Des Moines. News Channel 8's Aaron Kiernan was at the scene and brought us the first live reports. And Aaron, tell us how this happened.
Cynthia, it started when a Des Moines police officer spotted a stolen car. It ended with a horrible crash in a quiet neighborhood. The suspects are in the hospital, but police don't know who they are.
No more than I heard the call go over the radio. I heard a real loud thud and a crash.
Larry Smith was listening to his police scanner, so he knew the car was heading down his street, but he didn't expect to see this outside his front door.
Then when I looked up the street, I saw this automobile that setting upside down that sheared off two telephone poles.
Police say it all started at East 25th in Euclid when an officer saw two young men in a car that had been reported stolen.
He attempted to try to pull it over, and the vehicle fled southbound on East 25th at a very high rate of speed.
Sergeant Dykstra says the officer involved in the chase backed off as he got to this intersection at East 25th and Hull because he knows how dangerous it is. Unfortunately, the two young men in the car sped right through it, and that's when they lost control of the car.
And when it did so, it hit two poles, shearing both poles off, and then eventually landing on its hood.
Power is knocked out, along with phone service, and utility crews spend hours working to restore both. People like Larry Smith say they've seen crashes on this street before, but nothing quite like this.
Seems to be a every other month occurrence in this neighborhood. It's been a high-speed street, and unfortunately we see a lot of these accidents.
When crimes are committed, sometimes terrible things happen, and this is one of the times where an accident happened and individuals got hurt as a result.
And according to Sergeant Dykstra, police are having a tough time identifying the two men who were inside the car. He says neither one of them had a driver's license or any kind of ID. We know both of them were seriously hurt, but we don't know how badly at this point in time. Coming up tonight at 6, we'll have more on the investigation into who exactly these two men are.
And Aaron, what about power in that neighborhood?
Yes, Cynthia, about 150 homes were without power following the accident. A Mid-American spokesman says the utility poles were replaced and everything was back to normal by about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you, Aaron, with today's top story. Also today, police are looking into what caused a massive brawl outside Hoover High School Friday night. It landed these 4 Roosevelt High students in jail on a variety of charges. The fight started between some students after the Roosevelt Hoover basketball game. Soon, a crowd of 100 people were involved. School administrators are meeting to make sure this doesn't happen again. Insurgents in Iraq are trying to stop the elections there in 2 weeks.
Deadly attacks top our news from the war in Iraq today. 8 Iraqi soldiers were killed when insurgents fired on them at a checkpoint near Baghdad. And in Basra, mortars were fired overnight at 2 schools that are being set up to be used as voting centers. Militants are targeting election officials and polling places throughout Iraq.
Also targeted those in charge of security for the elections. 7 police officers were killed in northern Iraq when a suicide car bomb exploded. Gunmen also killed 7 soldiers and 1 civilian in a nearby city. And word from the Vatican that a Catholic archbishop has been kidnapped in Mosul. The 66-year-old archbishop represents the Syrian Catholic Church. He was walking in front of his church when he was abducted. Iraqis in the U.S. will have a say in their country's new leadership.
About 240,000 Iraqi Americans are eligible to vote. As Washington Bureau reporter Sally Kidd shows us now, polling places will be set up in these U.S. cities.
Kevin and Cynthia, some Iraqis are frustrated by the limited number of polling places set up here in the U.S., and we found some who drove hours just to be first in line. This is an emotional milestone for 61-year-old Hassam El-Sadawi. For the first time in his life, he's registering to vote in a democratic election in Iraq.
Today I am so glad. I think this is the first step to our democracy in Iraq and the first step to to build a new country with freedom.
Iraqis began trickling into this polling place near Washington, D.C. Monday morning.
Here's my voting card.
Emerging with registration cards in hand.
This is the first time since I born. That's my first time to elect and to register first time.
Sarah Mezbon fled Iraq just before the U.S. invasion.
I had voted twice in my life, but for only one person, because this is the only name on that list. This time, I can see a long list of names.
They are choosing the makeup of a 275-member assembly. And take a look at how lengthy the ballot is, with 111 different parties to choose from. Police cars and barricades were set up outside, and everyone had to pass security screeners first.
Okay, it's very nice, very interesting. I'm very proud of it.
Louay Bari hopes his vote will help build a new Iraq.
A government that would be able to settle things in Iraq, that would be able to bring peace back to Iraq.
One man says he drove 8 hours to get here, wanting to be among the first to take an historic step toward democracy. Now, once elected, the National Assembly will be responsible for electing a president and drafting Iraq's first constitution. Reporting from Capitol Hill, I'm Sally Kidd. Kevin, back to you.
All right, thank you, Sally. The nation's capital is getting ready for this week's presidential inauguration. No other inauguration in history has had tighter security than what's being planned for this one. 6,000 officers will provide security for the event, and that's expected to cost nearly $40 million.
Here in Iowa, citizens have been marking Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in a variety of ways today. Hundreds of people turned out for this ceremony at the State Historical Building. Governor Tom Vilsack signing a proclamation making this Martin Luther King Day in Iowa, as well as making it Martin Luther King Jr. Week. Vilsack says King showed us that everyone can make a difference.
There is more work to do. Yes. This fight for justice and equality and freedom and opportunity never ends. And it is a fight that belongs to each of us.
Today's event at the State Historical Building was sponsored by the Iowa Commission on the Status of African Americans.
And today is a happy day for about 60 Iowa Army National Guard soldiers and their families. They are returning from serving overseas. News Channel 8's Jeff Greenwood joins us live now at the Joint Forces headquarters at Camp Dodge, where the ceremony is just about to start. Right, Jeff?
Yes, Cynthia, it just got underway. In fact, if you can see behind me, the individual speaking right now is a colonel with the full-time Army who was so impressed with the way this unit performed that he came back here to address them and their families to thank them for their service. I'll tell you what, there are just smiles beaming from ear to ear here at the Iowa National Guard State Headquarters. This unit left back in December, left Iowa, about 60 soldiers who just arrived in this auditorium here approximately 15 minutes ago. They were running a little bit late, but believe me, the families say it was worth the wait to see them. They spent a little bit of time in Kuwait, and then they spent the brunt of their time in Iraq as a logistical support unit, supporting both Army and Marine units. So this is their time to meet their families again, and after hearing from a few dignitaries here, they will be once again reunited with their families, and we'll share their stories tonight on News Channel 8 at 6 o'clock and 10.
All right, Jeff, always a wonderful sight to see. Thanks.
Much better than the send-offs.
That's for sure.
I know this family.
Sub-zero temperatures didn't stop Iowans from donating more than $150,000 for the tsunami relief efforts. Last Friday, volunteers from the Des Moines Radio Group braved frigid temperatures and raised more than $154,000. They had set up shop at 11 Metro Dolls stores between 6 in the morning and 7 in the evening.
And time to turn it over to Mr. Curtis Gertz, and we are all very anxious to hear the forecast for this week, Curtis.
Well, we've had a lot of negative numbers during the morning hours. Matter of fact, a -2, -5, -6, -5. And this morning was a -8, by the way, and still a cold one out there. 3 up in Laverne, 4 Webster City, 7 in Perry. Southeast side of Des Moines at 12, a little warmer in southern Iowa. Mount Air right now with clear skies, 17 degrees. One more cold one out there. A bit breezy Tuesday, but those winds are going to be out of the south to southwest, and that'll usher in a warmer 5-day forecast. Yes, a little bit of a warm-up on the way, cold snap coming to an end.
All right, you sounded a bit like an auctioneer there for a moment with all those negatives.
I'm selling the weather.
Thanks, Curtis.
Hard sell. Still to come on First News at 5, a long, bitter custody battle comes to an end, or does it? Find out why one side is refusing to give up the battle.
Plus, he said it was a serious mistake, but now more than a dozen countries react to Prince Harry's Nazi attire by proposing a new ban. Details coming up.
First at breaking news, the most accurate meteorologists and the most experienced sports team. That's why KCCI is Iowa's news leader.
Escalade ESV, the biggest, boldest Escalade ever. Cadillac, breakthrough. Discover the difference at Betts Cadillac. Visit now for this attractive offer.
Dora the Explorer Live is coming to the Civic Center of Greater Des Moines, February 1st and 2nd. Stop by your local Fairway store and pick up a Dora color sheet for a chance to win 4 tickets to Dora the Explorer Live. While you're shopping at Fairway, pick up these specially priced items from Blue Bunny Ice Cream and Wonder Bread Hostess Cakes. Don't miss your chance to win 4 tickets to Dora the Explorer Live, courtesy of Fairway, Blue Bunny, and Wonder Bread Hostess Cakes.
Construction of Deerfield Retirement Community is well underway with opening planned for spring of 2005. That means active and comfortable retirement living is easily within sight. At Deerfield, you can live the life you love, remain near family and friends, and continue to enjoy your favorite activities with the assurance of on-site health care. And by making the decision now to call Deerfield, you'll have a choice of 14 apartment and townhome floor plans. To tour the Deerfield Model Apartment Home, call 515-267-0438 today.
Dodge Durango's making it to the top of a lot of lists. It came in first in a car and driver full-size SUV comparison test. It received 5 stars, the highest government frontal crash test rating. And since it's roomier and more powerful than Explorer or Trailblazer, lots of American families are making Durango their first choice. See your Dodge dealer and put Durango at the top of your list, too. Now get 0+. That means 0% financing plus great package discounts for total savings up to $6,850.
You're watching KCCI News Channel 8's First News at 5, Iowa's news leader. With Steve Carlin, Cynthia Fodor, and meteorologist Curtis Gertz with exclusive live Super Doppler weather. This is KCCI News Channel 8.
I just got hit real hard, like a punch, way off.
Way off indeed. He didn't get punched. He had a 4-inch nail embedded in his head. This 23-year-old construction worker just thought he had a week-long toothache, but when he finally went to the dentist, x-rays showed a much bigger problem. Take a look for yourself. The spike apparently shot into his mouth when a nail gun backfired. The nail was safely removed after a 4-hour operation. He is expected to be okay. An emotional custody battle played out this weekend, and it was all caught on tape.
It's a battle over a 3-year-old boy, and it begins today's look at news around the nation. 3-year-old Evan Scott was taken from his Florida home to live with his biological mother in Chicago. The custody battle began before the boy was even born. Before giving birth, the biological mother agreed to a private adoption, but recanted after the biological father demanded custody. The custodial mother, who raised Evan since birth, broke down during the exchange.
And you know what? I can say what I want to say now. He's gone. I'm not going to be silenced anymore. That little boy has been traumatized and hurt, and nobody cares.
Don Scott had been with Evan for 3 years. An attorney representing the custodial couple has filed an appeal, but says there has been no court response.
Police are questioning 2 New York teenagers about the death of a newborn baby found outside a church. A 13-year-old girl and 15-year-old boy have been identified as the boy's parents. Passers-by found the baby wrapped in a bag, and a medical examiner determined that the baby was born alive, but the cause of death has not been determined. Police are treating the case as a homicide.
And the bodies of 2 snowboarders killed in an avalanche have been found. The avalanche happened Idaho. The victims are both students from a Washington State college. A third student who was snowboarding with them survived. He was able to walk to a home and call for help. The three were snowboarding down the mountain when the avalanche hit.
To our north, a massive fire destroyed an oil company in North Dakota. Go ahead and check it out here on the pictures. At least 4 fire departments were called in to battle this blaze that started last night. By early this morning, the flames had reached a warehouse with storage tanks. That forced the firefighters just to stand back and watch it burn. No word on what caused the fire.
The fallout over Prince Harry's Nazi costume now has 25 European countries considering a total ban on all Nazi symbols. The scandal erupted last week over photos of Prince Harry, third in line to the British throne, wearing a Nazi outfit at a costume party. Several German conservatives and liberal Democrats in the European Parliament have urged a ban on Nazi symbols. Germany has already banned them. And up next on First News at 5, find out which U.S. state is dealing with a mess of snow now. Curtis Gertz will let us know if the flakes are headed our way.
And we're going from negative numbers to positive numbers overnight. It's a warm up in your Super Doppler forecast, and it's next.
Chrysler Pacifica is no ordinary SUV. It's your safety utility vehicle. A place where the world seems less frightening. Where it earned a 5-star front and side.
You're stepping on a personal ground you know nothing about.